took care of that. Okay, got it. I put that up. Yeah, so just by way of background, Skip did mention about Mid-Hudson Energy as a CCA, and he suggested that we invite Marcy, and I think Susan Gillespie was his first contact. And I explained to Marcy that we're very familiar with CCA. We've been through it in 2021. And what we're really interested in tonight is what the Mid-Hudson Energy Transition Group is, how it's established, what its process is, and particularly one question I know that I'm going to have is, what resources does the city of Kingston put into the program? And in other words, what would be the responsibility of the town in this sort of a structure? So I open it up to you guys. So I don't know who wants to go first. We're very informal, so.
Sure, so I think Marcy wants to share her screen, but I'm gonna start our presentation.
Okay.
And she'll move the slides.
Yeah, I'm gonna be, I'll be slide person. So if I could have the ability to share my screen, that would be great.
Yep. One sec. Where are you? There we go. Click. Why can't I? I just wanted to make you co-host, but it only lets me make you host. Hang on. Well, I'm going to make you host. You're going to have to transfer host back to me by right-clicking on my name, if you would.
You got it.
Thank you.
I won't abuse that privilege, okay? Good. All right. So I want to share this one. Okay. Does everybody see the presentation?
Yep. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we have
Great,
this.
thanks, Marcy.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so my name is Dana Hall. I am a secretary of the governing board of Mid-Hudson Energy Transition, which is a nonprofit organization. And we're here today to talk to you guys about our version of CCA. We did see your note that you already are well versed in the basics of CCA. So we eliminated all of our introductory slides, which are, kind of oriented towards explaining what CCA is. So we're going to just jump right to us and what's different about our program. Our agenda today is just to learn about us. So you could go back. And we're going to talk about what we mean by advanced CCA, sometimes called CCA 3.0. Our focus is on reducing emissions overall across every CCA participant, not just an electricity supply contract, but other sources of emissions. And we're going to talk about how we engage the community. To your question a few minutes ago, we'll explain to you what our I'm going to call it an expectation, but our hope is in a partnership with our municipal clients in the work involved in setting up our advanced version of CCA, and then a little bit about timeline and some Q&A. So the next slide is to explain who we are. We're pretty new, not-for-profit, formed in August of 2021. Susan Gillespie is our board president, and she's been working on bringing CCA to New York State since 2015, 2016, through the work and the effort of Citizens for Local Power, which is now Communities for Local Power. She recently stepped down as president of that organization after she became president of MHET. And we do have IRS 501c3 charitable status and are New York State tax exempt as well. That gives us a lot of opportunity to receive charitable funding, foundation funding, and it's been a great success for us so far. And so far, the City of Kingston has selected us to be their administrator. That was announced in October. This is our mission. Our goal is to empower everyone to own and share renewable energy and create healthier buildings, more robust community engagement, and strengthen the resilience of the Hudson Valley in the face of climate change. So you can go on. So here's our board members. Susan, I mentioned a minute ago. Simon Strauss is our treasurer of the board and works in renewable energy finance. I'm a renewable energy attorney, clean energy attorney, and I live in Orange County, but I'm only not too far from you guys up in Saugerties. And I'm secretary of the board and also counsel for MHET. Marcy is our acting executive director and a board member. And then we have Joel Herm, who owns a hydropower company, Jasmine Graham, who is working in decarbonization and particularly focused on equitable access and energy justice. Peggy Gans is a board member. She's an expert in energy efficiency and multifamily residential housing space. And Samrat Pathania, who some of you may know, is a teacher in high school teacher in Kingston, and is one of the, I'm sorry, Marcy, what are they called again? The not gurus, mentors.
Yeah, Samrat teaches in the Walk Hill Central School District, and
Okay.
so he is an energy coach, also
Coach.
an energy navigator, you may hear. Not to be confused with energy advisor, which is the NYSERDA Clean Hub person. So a lot of
Okay.
a lot of names floating around there.
Yeah, so every one of our board members has some area of expertise around the space of clean energy, and we're all New Yorkers, and most of us are based right here in the Hudson Valley. Okay, so the next slide. MHET is also partnered, you're going to go to the next, so there we go, with a company called Power Market, which has a pretty deep experience administering community energy programs. And they've been working on community campaigns and helped implement CCA in the state of New York. And last year they hired Brad Tito, who was formerly head of community programs for NYSERDA and basically in charge of creating and designing the CCA program in New York State within the state. He flipped over to go work at Power Market, and they are our technical advisor. What they're doing is helping us with the customer enrollment once a supply contract is put in place, and will also be helping us with a technical platform, which I'll talk about in a few minutes ago. But in addition to Power Market, we also really value the input of experts that we know around the state and around the world, frankly, who can help us do really innovative things. And in that sense, we've formed some outward-facing committees. We have a funding committee, which is focused on raising, doing a capital fund, either debt financing or a revolving loan fund for grants and small loans, low interest loans, for people to actually pay for the implementation of energy conservation measures to help with energy efficiency. And then we have a technical committee, which is helping us design studies and demonstration projects, and looking at larger project opportunities. For example, in Kingston, we're looking at a big thermal loop project, and it's supporting that there. And then the third item is a community council, which is the intention there is to engage members of the community to provide input and a say in what the program should look like. And that's not meant to be government. That's not meant to be people who actually sit in elected office or serve on official government committees, but local leaders, grassroots people who are just active, who are willing to roll up their sleeves and learn more about CCA and help build the program. We really want to engage the community. You'll hear a lot more about that. Okay, so next slide. So CCA 1.0 is that basic supply contract. Back in the late 90s was when CCA first came around in California. The problem with relying on a bulk supply contract in New York State is and under Public Service Commission rules, you need to guarantee that your price in your supply contract is going to be less than the utility rate if you want to serve low-income and APP or assistance customers. And that's limiting. That means that there's a problem of equity and access in accessing renewable energy, and having that requirement without some other mechanism to get supply to low-income people is really limiting in CCA 1.0. 2.0 is really specific to California. It happened in the first, between 2000 and 2014, where CCAs were changed to allow them to purchase RECs and also build to scale renewable energy projects and use that supply to serve their customer loads and allow them to meet 100% renewable objectives, but again, still limited to the acquisition of electricity supply to serve electric loads in their communities. So what we do, Advanced CCA, is something a bit more than that. We focus on, we'll talk about opt-out CDG in a few minutes, but community renewable projects, community solar, where the subscriptions to those projects could be accessible by members of the CCA or residents in homes that are part of the CCA. We also want to focus a lot on building and even transportation, decarbonization and electrification, the installation of DERs, meaning renewable energy assets, energy storage, thermal loops, microgrids, and in innovative ways so that community members could even have an ownership stake or share of ownership in those assets. And that would lead to the wealth building opportunity where what we're looking to have happen is people become invested and feel a stake in where their energy comes from. Okay, so the next slide. The reason that we're talking about things like buildings is we love this graphic from DEC, the Department of Environmental Conservation, because it shows that electricity supply is only 13% of greenhouse emissions in New York State. So if you use your CCA and all you do is get a supply contract, you're not really doing that much to reduce overall emissions in your city. The largest culprit here is buildings and transportation close behind. So our programs are really meant to try to get at those generators and sources of emissions. Okay, next slide. So focusing on the community, we really want to engage the community. I can't say that intensely enough. We don't want to be a CCA administrator that's hired to just get you a supply contract and send out the opt-out letters and do a little bit of outreach and walk away. We really want people engaged. So our approach is to have focus groups, what we call listening tours, where we look at who's active in the community in other realms. It could be LGBTQ or anti-racism or other organizations that are active in the community, and talk to them about energy and ask them how they feel about their utility bill or about the efficiency of their homes. So we're trying to really find ways to do that, and the creation of the community council is essential to that. We also are hiring what we call community liaisons, which will be contracted staff who are paid to go to faith-based groups, to go out in the community and talk about our programs. So a really deeply engaged community outreach program with the community themselves advising us on what we should be doing in their local community. Okay, next slide. I'm trying to be fast because I know you want to ask us some questions and we don't want to take up too much of your time tonight. So how do we work with communities? The first thing I would point out is that we don't charge an administrator fee to the municipality. When you engage with us, the money that helps support us comes from foundation funding, grant funding, and fees that we might charge from the electricity supplier or the community solar developers who bring community solar in once opt-out CDG is allowed. So there's no administrator fee that's paid by the municipality to us. But on the other hand, we do really like it if we can work with a community that's willing to go after some DOE funding, some NYSERDA funding, because what we can do, like for example, what we're doing in Kingston, Kingston has, they got a lot of ARPA money, but 250,000 of it is earmarked just for energy efficiency grants for homes. And they've asked us to administer that. So what we're going to do then is go to a local bank in the community and say, hey, the city got this money. How about you guys match it and make a donation? And then we can double it up. So that's we look for innovative ways to bring funding with cities as partners, where they take an active part in that process, so that we can really maximize the impact of our programs. We're creating a fund for revolving low interest loans. And again, looking to provide opportunities for shares in the fund or direct shares in energy assets in neighborhoods where they're installed. And then eventually we're hoping that as we work with more municipalities, that the municipalities themselves would be open to considering either the formation of a local development corporation or an intra-municipal compact where they can collaborate on these efforts on a more regional scale. rather than just one city signing up, another city signing up. We can certainly do that with the supply contract. You know, I think we're looking at around 50 million kilowatt hours a year that Kingston has, a little over 20,000 households, assuming a pretty conservative attrition rate. So if Saugerties joined or other local towns decided to join with us, we already have a pretty good size supply need that we can go to market with, but that's just the supply contract. When it comes to the other things, the buildings programs, those are all opt-in. So if Saugerties signed with us, they would be available to your residents. And we'll have to decide, we're still designing our funding structure, but the goal would be that it would be accessible to any of our CCA members. And next slide. I'm going to let Marcy, oh wait, sorry. This is not in the same order that I had it in, but so technology platform. Our vision is to create a portal or a personal dashboard where anybody who is enrolled in the CCA can log in and see what their supply rate is and, you know, see their CCA contract in there, but also they can access their energy efficiency measures that they do through our program. So it'll be individual account access, it'll be modular and configurable. We really have a great vision for how this will work. And I apologize for the dog. We're working with a number of different software vendors to try to come up with the best design or see if there are already existing platforms that we can leverage. Okay, next slide. Marcy, do you want to do the next one?
Sure. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about energy efficiency. So we saw on that chart from the DEC that buildings account for 32% of our carbon emissions. So that's a huge sector that we really need to focus on decarbonizing. And an approach that we're trying to take is a streamlined approach to energy efficiency upgrades and electrification, because if anybody out there has tried to do this with their own home, you know, it's kind of a big process of trying to figure out, where do you get funding from? Is there money from NYSERDA? Is there money through the IRA? How do you fund the rest of it once you've exhausted those means? And then you have to worry about contractors and getting bids from different contractors. So we're trying to simplify that process for homeowners and small businesses, so they have one point of contact. So the idea is that they would come to us for their consultation. We would set them up with a home assessment. We would look at all of their funding options. We would have bridge loans. Dana was talking about finding some financing so we can offer low interest revolving loans, so people have access to money to do all of the upgrades that they need to do. And then we will work with you to fix you up with contractors, and we're going to follow that process all the way through follow-up. We're looking to do some smart metering and some smart technology so that you can see how your energy efficiency upgrades are performing. We want to know that they're doing what we said that they were going to do. And as everyone knows, the cheapest energy is the energy that you don't use in the first place. So this is a big initiative. It's a huge process, and every part of that, every step along that chart that you're seeing is a process within a process. So there's not anybody really out there doing this in the way that we would like to see it done. So we're building the ship as we're steering it, but we're very hopeful and optimistic that this is going to make these projects more successful and more scalable. And we need to be doing 10 times more of the homes now than we already are. We have to do that. So it's a big deal. I'm going to turn it back over to Dana. She's just going to go through a simple sample timeline of what our CCA process would look like.
Great, thanks, Marcy. So, this is your standard, process of enrolling and setting up a CCA. The first phase would be authorization from the Public Service Commission to operate. And then outreach and sourcing, both the public outreach campaign, but also the sourcing or procurement of electricity. And then launching, having your opt-out period, sending the letters out, having informational meetings, and then post-launch is just managing enrollment. So this is a standard CCA timeline. If you could go to the next slide, though. What I want to tell you guys about is who we are. I mean, I know you've been working with Jewel. Jewel's been doing this for a number of years. And has already filed a plan with you. They will need to file a new plan once they've set up their new supply contract that they're working on right now. But you may or may not be aware that the Public Service Commission issued an order in January that changes the CCA rules. And basically they issued an order adopting a white paper written by staff, and there's a number of clarifications and changes. And now the DPS staff has to issue new regulations within 90 days of January 19th. And once that happens, all CCA administrators are going to have to file updated implementation plans that comport with those new regulations. So where we are, MHET never filed our implementation plan. We were waiting for opt-out CDG, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, which used to be authorized and then was rescinded by the Public Service Commission. We wanted to file our plan with that in place. We thought it was going to come out in November. We thought it was going to come out in December. When the January order came out, it made it clear, okay, they're waiting on that. So we need to file our master plan immediately. So it is ready, it's done, and we need to file our petition and file the plan probably early next week is when we'll be filing our master plan. But it has to be done as a petition with SAPA, the State Administrative Procedure Act and public comment period. And then eventually the Public Service Commission would issue an order probably in May or June. That would authorize us to be an administrator just like Jewel is. Then we would be going to market for the supply contract. And once the supply contract is secured, if it's secured, would we then file our municipal plan with whichever municipalities go with us. And when I say if, what I mean is the market is not great for electricity prices. I know you guys know this. And we don't know what's going to be different in a couple of months. I think everybody was waiting for winter to go through, and now that the buzz is starting. Okay, when the weather starts to get warmer, let's see if prices go down. Maybe we can get a decent supply contract. But the Public Service Commission order that came out in January made it very clear that an administrator should not be going to market, only get one bid, have the bid be higher than they were hoping to get, and sign that contract. That's just not acceptable. There needs to be more activity. There needs to be more competition. And that if the bids that come in are not acceptable and don't meet the requirements or the needs of the community, then the supply contract just won't be signed and you wait until another round of bidding. So that's why what we do on the 3.0 side with building decarbonization and our other efforts is so critical to our CCA program, because we don't want to just rely on a good supply contract. It's a tough market, and we want to be able to see progress and really show emission reductions citywide. So then I'll get to opt-out CDG. So I just want to ask, I don't know if you're all able to raise your hands in the Zoom or something, but I am curious how many of you know the term opt-out CDG? Or you could even unmute yourself and say, I don't know what that is. Hard to see. The only person I see is Mary. So that's okay. So
I think we know what opt-out means. Is that was the question?
Yeah. So, but opt-out CDG is a very specific thing. So community solar is, you get your mailers in the mail and people want you to subscribe. These solar companies want you to sign up for community solar. Opt-out CDG means that your CCA can make contracts with those companies and all those bill credits go right into the CCA. So the solar companies like it because they don't have to go to market and mail mailers and knock on doors and get people to subscribe. They have an automatic pool of subscribers. The Public Service Commission allowed this in a few places and then decided that the billing was too complicated and they rescinded the authorization, and we've been waiting for quite some time for them to reauthorize it. The reason why it's so important is because the supply contract can't serve low-income customers unless you can guarantee that the rate's going to be lower than the market. But opt-out CDG can be you can enroll your low-income customers first. So it's really the only way right now in New York to get low-income customers to be able to participate in a program. So that's why we're advocating so hard for it. And you can go to the next slide. We formed a coalition with the organizations you see on the screen here, Sustainable Westchester and CLP and We Act and New Yorkers for Clean Power. I'm sure you guys know all these people. And what we're doing in this coalition is advocating for the Public Service Commission to reauthorize and implement opt-out CDG without any further delay. Mayor Steve Noble in Kingston wrote a terrific letter on behalf of Kingston which was sent to the secretary of the commission and the governor and several other people. Their laws and rules committee just passed a resolution up to the full council, which will be heard and voted on March 7th. And so they're considering adopting a resolution that advocates for the Public Service Commission to adopt opt-out CDG. So we would love for Saugerties to join that. Jewel is also a partner in this campaign. They may have already told you about it. They're reaching out to the cities that they're talking to as well. So we're partners with Jewel on this. We all think it's a great idea to get opt-out CDG activated as soon as possible. And we also have a lot of community solar supply just waiting for us to authorize it so that we can get it going. So I think that's our presentation. There's a goodbye slide. Yeah. All right. So now I'm ready for questions. I'm sorry if that took too long.
Okay, I'll jump in first. I noticed in the earlier slide, the city of Kingston was named as the administrator. And also the Mid-Hudson Energy Group is the administrator. So I'd like to know what the distinction is between your role and the city's role. And also, what resources is the city of Kingston, I mentioned this earlier, putting into the program in terms of either finances in there or personnel? I'd like to understand particularly the role of the municipality.
Sure. So I'm not sure which slide said that Kingston is an administrator, but they are not. They adopted a law to enable CCA, but they are hiring Mid-Hudson Energy Transition to be their administrator.
Oh, that explains that. Okay.
Yeah. But in terms of the resources, so they have a very active and engaged sustainability coordinator, full-time person who is our partner. We meet with her weekly. We were very close in contact with her, and she, even without us, does a ton for Kingston, has applied for ARPA money, for DOE money, and has been very successful and a strong advocate for really great energy, clean energy projects. So we feel thrilled that we have her as a partner. I think our hope is that with other municipalities that we have, that they would also have a dedicated person who could be our one point of contact, ideally a municipal employee, who it doesn't have to be their full-time job, but who a scope of their job, a portion of their scope of work would be to engage with us and liaise with us and oversee us.
Yeah,
So,
I guess, yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. What commitment would the municipality have to make in terms of resources? So it would be either a part-time or full-time, somebody working for the town who would serve in that capacity. And so it could possibly be a part-time, or how much?
Yeah, definitely part-time. I mean, the person we're working with in Kingston has other responsibilities besides just working with us. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Other
And
questions?
anyone else? No.
This is
Right.
maybe way off base, but do you work with new construction?
Do you mean
That's-
in buildings or
That is,
projects?
if there was a major housing construction project in a town, that would there be any way of you intervening with that and the developer?
I mean, I probably not in a legal sense. We would be delighted to be available as a resource and help the developer make choices that would be more energy efficient, but I'm not sure that a city could require a private developer to listen to us or do what we say. The owner or developer would have to be cooperative and want to do that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. That is, you would be available as a resource to a developer that might want to.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, that's interesting
Yes.
to know. Thank you.
That's where our technical committee would come in. So I see Elizabeth has her hand up.
Okay,
But you're
Elizabeth
muted.
and Leslie. Elizabeth, you're muted. Elizabeth, you're muted.
in that context, you would recommend the stretch code, that new construction be use the stretch code for?
We definitely advocate for that. Marcy, do you want to talk a little bit about our ideas about building code?
So we fully recognize that building code for new construction is a huge deal, and we are advocating for the adoption of New York Stretch and even New York Stretch to Zero. So it's a little bit of a fight, and it's a little bit of a process. I know that some of the municipalities around here who've already adopted Stretch are even having a problem with that and implementing it. But it's definitely something on our radar. It's not necessarily in the scope of what we're doing as a CCA, but we certainly are an advocate for better building codes and all electric building act as well.
Thank you.
Leslie, you had your hand up. Leslie?
Thank you. Thanks for the, yes, I'm here. Just give me a chance. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I was wondering how your building assessments interface with those that NYSERDA contractors are doing now for residential. And if somebody had one of the NYSERDA contractors do their residential home assessment, can that person come to you and interlock into your process from the assessment forward?
Well, Leslie, we haven't actually tried our process yet. In fact, we're still building it. So I'm a BPI energy assessor. I actually have my own auditing company. It's what I do aside from this job. And so, you know, that's something that we would be looking at. And we have to, like I said, we're just now developing this process. And there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle. So we're hoping to do some pilot projects, maybe take, 5 homes and put them through what we envision as the way to do it and see how it works out. And that would be a great question, is what if somebody already comes to us with an assessment? Of course, we would look at that, no doubt.
So that actually brings me right into my second question. And that is, you're building quite an intricate thing here with many, many parts to stand up. What is your top priority? What would you focus on first? Because it seems like it's really hard to go everywhere all at once, all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have even been talking about this internally, doing some mapping of the city to look at where the highest energy use is, which buildings are using the most resources, and going for those areas of the city first. So those would be our targets for doing our technical studies. And absolutely, it's a big process. We are actually, we're applying for the Department of Energy has called a Buildings Upgrade Prize that they have opened up, and it's funding for these type of projects. And that's our concept plan, is this one-stop shop for decarbonization. But even the DOE recognizes that not every organization is going to be able to solve every problem in every step of the process. What's happening right now in the world of decarbonization isn't working from a scalability and a replicability. How would I say that? You can't replicate it the way it is right now. Yeah, exactly.
Replicatable.
So, yeah, exactly. So, there's this big push nationwide to figure out innovative solutions to all of the challenges that happen when we try to decarbonize buildings. I mean, there's pre-existing conditions that are weatherization barriers, roofs that have gone bad, electrical panels that need to be upgraded, mold, just health and safety issues that have to be tackled first before you can even do any kind of air sealing and insulation work. And then, supply chain issues with getting enough heat pumps. So there's all these barriers, and we're going to just work really hard to figure out how to do it.
And I'll just add to Leslie that we do, in our org structure and in our sort of workload assignment process, we decide, we figure out who's in charge of what thing. So we try not to put, like, our executive director is not in charge of getting supply contract and getting opt-out CDG done. And we have other people that part of our team, whether it's Power Market or other board members or staff, or are in our externally facing committees where we have really enthusiastic, skilled experts who are just excited to see what we're doing and are giving us time and hours so that they can help us figure it out. So our plan is to make sure everything is covered and then we don't put too much on one person.
So it sounds like addressing building energy usage is a higher priority than electrical supply contract.
Yeah,
Is it-
you don't need a lot of
okay.
people to work on an electrical supply contract. You hire a reverse auction company, you know, you get some
Yeah.
lawyers to write a contract and you wait to see how the bids come in, but we can't do anything about the war in Ukraine and all the other things that are affecting electricity prices. One thing that we are looking at doing though on the supply contract though, there are a lot of very large renewable projects coming online in the next few years. For example, large wind projects where we could potentially do a contract directly with a wind supplier for every single kilowatt hour we need for all our customers. And it would only be a fraction of what they generate, but we would sleeve that through an ESCO contract with an ESCO like a Constellation. And then they wouldn't be going to market every 6 months or every 2 years to buy blocks of energy and try to meet and satisfy a price and then regret the contract they signed and decide to get out of the contract because they're not happy with the price. If we can do a large scale renewable deal and get all our supply from one big wind developer, then there's stability and security in the price. And that doesn't take a large team to get that part done. It's the building side is really going to require the most expertise and points of view from various different places. And, you know, there's workforce issues, there's so many issues. That's going to be the complicated one to solve.
So I don't want to dominate here, but so it sounds like the energy supply contracts will be implemented before the full plethora of building assessments and.
Yeah, the buildings rollout will
retrofits.
take, we're going to start it right away,
Yeah.
but for it to really be done, like it's our vision for the city of Kingston, I don't know, what are we talking about, like 8-10 years before we get through as many of the buildings as we can. It's a longer process.
May I ask, did the city of Kingston consider going with a different administrator? Was that something that they talked about and rejected, or?
They did have
Three.
at least two, but they didn't tell us who. I think we know who the other one was because we saw them at the Staples furiously copying their presentation just like we were. But they didn't, you know, out of confidentiality and just, you know, good business practices, they didn't have any candid conversations with us about that other supplier.
I actually think they had
Administrator, the other administrator, right?
Administrator, right,
Okay.
sorry, I said the wrong word.
They may have actually had two others, Dana. I want to say.
Were
that
there? Okay,
I think there were a total of three that they had.
there
to
were
pick.
three.
I thought there were only in our area. I thought it was just Jewel and Good Energy. Aren't they the only?
No,
aren't
Right,
they-
and
to
us, we were
approve?
the third.
Pardon me?
We were the third.
You were the third, okay.
Right.
But you're not PSC approved yet.
Right, but we still responded to an RFP and they are signing our contract. But we have to get PSC approved to get a supply contract. But the other stuff that we're doing, it's not under the jurisdiction of the Public Service Commission.
Right. Okay. Anyone else? No? Well, I thank you all so much. It was very informative. It's a lot to digest, and you know, it's something that we certainly can take under consideration. I don't know where Saugerties is going to end up with all of this, but it would be an option. Just to sum up, it would be an option for the town of Saugerties to work with your group in terms of the CCA part of it, the electricity supply part of it. And then as more of your components come to fruition, the town could also participate and choose among the other components what they might want to participate in. Is that some?
Yeah, I think so. Because our buildings program is really opt-in, and that's why the Public Service Commission doesn't have jurisdiction. They only care about things where you're taking customers and automatically enrolling them. That's when they want to know what's happening. But for the opt-in, it's purely voluntary. You know, we had kind of been assuming that any municipality who we offer our opt-in service would also be on our supply contract. But I suppose we could entertain the possibility that maybe we would work with other communities on those programs. without them being in the supply contract.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I don't know yet. That's a great suggestion. Well, I know you didn't suggest it, but the way you phrased the question, lighted a light bulb in my mind that maybe we should think about that.
We'll see. And just one final thing with CDC, the Community Solar Program,
Mhm.
it participate through CEC. Saugerties participated through CEC with Ulster County, the Green New Deal.
Okay,
And we, and our residents did sign up to subscribe to a solar farm.
that's
And we
great.
did work with Power Market, by the way. They were
That's
terrific.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, they were terrific. So going forward with community solar, just to kind of give us a sense of where you said you're really pushing for the PSC to approve the opt-out.
Yeah, it's hard to read the tea leaves there. There was an order issued in January, which emphasized an alternative to community CDG or community solar called Expanded Solar for All. And that program is utility run. National Grid has a pilot, and they want all of the utilities to develop proposals to do that statewide. Basically, the way that is that the utilities would make contracts with community solar developers, and the utility would take all those bill credits and make a giant pool of bill credits and just dole them out to low-income customers anywhere in their territory. So it would mean that you don't have to be in a CCA to get enrolled in Expanded Solar for All. And so the Public Service Commission put it out there in their order to explore. They want to see proposals. What we don't know, those of us who are advocating for opt-out CDG to be in CCA, we don't know if they're saying, well, just do that instead of opt-out CDG. We think we could do both. We think we could have communities who have CCAs make deals with CDG providers, and Expanded Solar for All could also be available from the utility for low-income customers anywhere in the territory. So that's our hope, but we have to wait for them to issue their order. But influencing is important. Advocating letters, resolutions, all this will show the Public Service Commission that a lot of people want CCA to be able to do this.
Mhm. Just one quick final question. You talked about when you go out to bid for the kilowatt hours for electricity. Are you thinking at all of putting a cap on what you would accept as a kilowatt hour amount? So
Yeah.
that Westchester does that. They
Yeah.
have a cap. And if it comes in higher than what the municipalities agree is acceptable, they reject it. Are you thinking?
That's
along
right. Yep, it'll be the same.
It would be the same. 'Cause
Yeah, and the new order emphasized that it has to work that way.
so that's true for all administrators.
Yeah, that's what the order says now.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, well,
I have
again,
one final question.
Sure.
Have you done any conversations with Ulster County government in general, the whole county?
So yes, we've talked with Ulster County back some time ago. Community choice aggregation cannot be authorized under a county government. Under the initial authorizing order, only municipalities
Okay.
can do CCAs. But what Ulster County was thinking about was helping us form a local development corp of municipalities that are in their county that we could group together to have more of a regional CCA. And that's something that we did get some support from them on that. We haven't sat down with Jen Metzger yet,
Yes.
but we're looking forward to doing that soon. And I know she's a big proponent of it.
Well,
that's a great
why
idea.
I asked. I think a
Yeah,
connection to Jen might allow us to develop a bigger pool in Ulster County.
yes,
That's an
Yes.
excellent idea. That's a way to go. That is
Yeah.
the way to go. Yeah, good.
So,
well, if you get a chance to talk to Susan Gillespie, if you guys know her, you can let her know you feel that way. I'm sure she feels that way too, but the more we hear it,
yeah.
the better.
I'm sure
You
she
have good support in Ulster County, the Department of Environmental, of the environment rather, in Ulster County. They're great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
very exciting. Well, good luck and thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Okay.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you,
right.
Paul.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Emily.
Bye, thank you.
Marcy, thank you.
Okay, we're back. Hold on. Okay. All right. So I guess there's a lot to digest here. I don't know if anybody wants to make any comments at this point or just think about it. We'll just think about it. Elizabeth, you're muted.
I was wondering if Jewel had, there probably has been communication between Jewel and the MEHET, or because previously, of course, we had worked with Jeff Demansky, and I think that we got kind of, through no fault of Jeff's, it kind of fell apart. And maybe if this group shared experiences with Jewel, I don't know if that's taken place or if it's planned, but that might be a possibility, I would think, I would hope.
I don't know. I don't know
Okay.
the answer. Before we move on, I was going to ask Mike to fill everybody in on how Skip is doing and what his condition is. I know some of you are aware, but Mike has seen him and spoken to him. And Mike, would you like to just give an update to our group?
I had sent out an email to Mary, but not to the whole group. I didn't know if you wanted to do it on our meeting. Yes, I was at the hospital today with a friend of mine, John, and I was very pleased. First of all, the doctor there, the critical care doctor, was very open to speaking with me and letting me know where he stands right now. What is happening now is that they are lowering, he's on a ventilator, he's still on the ventilator, he's still sedated, but there is movement and he's moving, but he's not at the stage where he can interact with us. But what the doctor said was, and he did have an infection yesterday, that concerned me, but the infection was gone. But what they're doing now is they're lowering, he's on the ventilator, but at the lowest level. And they're allowing to see what his uptake is. And then at a certain point, they will take him off the ventilator and he will be able to monitor and feel he'll be able to himself administer oxygen as he needs it, as he feels he needs it. And then they will also be dropping, and they have been dropping, the sedation. So he's on a weaning process right now. But the amount of activity that I saw from him was much greater than the last time I was there, where he was completely sedated.
So he's out of
That's where
coma
he is
now.
right now.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
What happened to him? What happened to him?
He had a heart attack.
When?
What happened is he went in a week ago, either, I think Monday.
Last Monday, I think.
Monday, right. I spoke to him on Tuesday. He had a urinary urological issue. So he said he took himself to Kingston Hospital to the emergency room and they admitted him. And he had an infection and he was fine and he was talking, fine. And he was on antibiotics and he was on antibiotics, but they were trying to probably define better what the infection was to give more specific antibiotics. And he also had a blood clot. So he told me that once they got the infection identified and got on the antibiotics, they may have to do surgery. And that was a week ago, Tuesday. And then Mike called on Wednesday to say that he had collapsed and had a heart attack. And then Mike was really got the more information after that.
The
Was he in
doctor
a coma?
said that he had bleeding. So the doctor said the bleeding might have been the start or of some heart problems happening, or the reverse, the urinary clot or might have caused the heart attack. So it could go either way, but that's the situation right now.
But
So
he is out of the
And
coma now.
it's okay with him for you to be sharing his medical information with us? I'm just double checking.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
his son, we met with Khalil. And his son, said that whatever information you feel is pertinent, that basic information is really, I was surprised that the doctor put it out there, and so he feels it was just basic information that anyone could have gotten going in there.
I was there this afternoon too. I went with Lanny and talked to Khalil. And Khalil, I said, I'll let everybody know how it's going. And he's like, okay, great.
Yeah,
But
he wants the community to know.
there was a talk about the doctor, they were considering moving him to Westchester because of some blood that he has to maybe get surgery on to, anyway, they did a procedure. It might have worked. And if it worked, he doesn't have to go to Westchester. But if it didn't work, he will have to go to Westchester to get this procedure to I guess when they did the CPR, it caused some breakage of the ribs and then a little bit of a internal bleeding. And they were trying to get that out.
Okay, I didn't know.
And that was I think that's since you were there, but they don't know if they're gonna have to move into Westchester or not. I guess they're gonna find out tonight.
Oh, okay, that's
Hopefully not.
another update.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, keep him in
So
our
he's at Kingston Hospital now?
Kingston Hospital.
In the ICU. Yeah.
At Benedictine.
Oh, Benedict?
Kingston.
Yeah.
Oh, is it Kingston now?
He told me Kingston. He told me he was in Kingston Hospital. So
It's no longer Benedictine, it's Health Alliance. And but it is the new extension off of what was Benedictine. So take Benedictine out of you, they're gone.
I just know what he said. Okay, well, we'll certainly keep him in our prayers, that's for sure. It's hopeful that he seems to be improving, so. Okay, so moving on then to the agenda, I'm going to ask that we move the discussion on the annual report up on the agenda because Patty is here for that purpose. So I sent everyone the annual report. I hope you all got a chance to look at it. And
That's an excellent report, I thought. Very comprehensive.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, essentially it was all about our interaction with CEC for the year 2021. And Patty did a phenomenal job and a very laborious, long, drawn out, frustrating experience trying to get the numbers from Central Hudson to get an accurate numbers in terms of what the kilowatt hours were. And then of course, Carol had to translate it to greenhouse gas emissions. So for 2021, as Patty will tell us, the estimates for greenhouse gas emissions is all it's all an estimate because Central Hudson failed to provide 4 months of data to Patty. So we don't have
For some accounts, for some accounts.
on some accounts, yes, on some accounts, yeah. Patty, maybe you should take over from here. then.
Well, everybody knows that they changed the account numbers. We don't know why they changed all the account numbers. So getting the old account numbers to them to give us the new account numbers took a little bit of time. When we got them, then I had to use I could no longer use what I used to do was go into Greg Chorvis's office and work at Mark's thing, his code to get into all of the building data. And I could get every single account right from there. The cost and the kilowatt hours and the natural gas, all of it there. All I had to do was cut and paste it into a worksheet and I could work with it there. I still had to get all the tank fuels and the gasoline and diesel elsewhere, but at least the bulk of the accounts are the electric and the natural gas. When I started working with the Central Hudson data, it was just horrendous. I mean, sometimes you had 8 months and sometimes you had 12 months, but even within those numbers that we are all familiar with, you know, there's a general thing that a building uses a certain amount of kilowatt hours a year, regardless. But to see some of the differences, for example, one water district used 1 kilowatt hour for the entire year. Well, that makes no sense. It's just ridiculous. So, so that's why I put in there the caveats about that. What we were dealing with is the same thing that everybody has dealt with Central Hudson. They got their bills. They didn't make sense. They said, we've never used this much energy before, but that's what happened. So it is, some of the accounts seem pretty normal, and some of them just are so off that it was like shocking to me, either under what we would expect or over. And then one account I couldn't even find when I gave him the account number that we had used for a water district on Route 32 over in Glasgow. They didn't have a new account number for that. I said, well, so then I tried to get it through the Glasgow Water and Sewer and Water, and I couldn't get it from them either. So I made a note of that. So you'll see there are a lot of notes under each of those categories. But what Mary is questioning now as to what we do, I mean, my suggestion was, I've already talked to Fred Costello about it and said, we're going to give you our best estimates. I sent it to Greg Chorvis, and he says, oh, God, this is so wrong. I said, I know, but you know, not everything, but some of the accounts that he was familiar with. We can either continue to express our dismay and remind the town board this is our best estimate given what we have. Or Mary suggests we take a firmer thing and try and get Central Hudson to, if I'm understanding you correctly, fix the accounts from 2 years ago. I don't even think that's possible, that they can go back and redo all of the numbers they had from 2, because our meters have kept going onward, you know, so I don't know how they recreate that sort of stuff. But certainly we should be able to try and get, and not that I haven't tried, to get the missing months of some of the counts that are only 8 months. For example, the lighting districts, only 8 months of data. When I asked him why I couldn't have the full year, I was told we're not allowed to give full year anymore for lighting. Why? I said, you know, so then that was their explanation. Now, granted, a lot of these people that I had to talk to at Central Hudson didn't have a clue what was going on. They didn't know what the mistakes were. They didn't understand it themselves. But to only get 8 months of an account is egregious, I think. So that's where we are. And I guess Mary's looking to see what your reactions about how if we try to get them to fix it, though I can't see a way to do that. We're up to whatever you all want to say.
Isn't there a lawsuit against Central Hudson now? And
Yeah,
we,
the state is suing Central Hudson. I think that was what I read, or the PSC is suing them.
Is,
And the guy, the head guy, he quit. Somebody else is now in there. But whatever they did when they put their new algorithms together just didn't work. And I don't know, I haven't gotten a Central Hudson bill in 3 months now. So obviously whatever they're doing still isn't working, because I'll eventually get one, I guess. But
we've gotten 3 recently.
well, that's what I'll probably get 3 bills in one
Right.
month. But
Carol, did you
So-
want to jump in here?
Yeah,
Or somebody-
I just wanted to say that sometimes you can extrapolate from 8 to 12.
That's what I was thinking.
And then the other possibility, but this takes such a deep dive and such a lot of work, is to compare month to month from the one year to the next and see which ones were missing and sort of guesstimate the ones that were missing.
right. But the things that were the most problematic were the water and sewer.
Right, the one, right.
And those were COVID years. So I'm not sure they would be really good examples by going back to 2020 to see if what those last 4 months. We could go back to the prior year, 2019, but I mean, you know, people have moved into that area. Glasgow's building up like crazy. I just don't know. I thought of doing an estimate, but then I thought, I don't want to make an estimate and claim that that fixed it. I just wanted to let them be aware, this is what it is, and not fill in their blanks for them that they're not willing to fill in for themselves. That puts the onus on us for those numbers.
My position on this is the onus is on them.
I do too.
A strong, well,
I agree.
that's where I'm coming from. I think there should be a letter. I think that we should recommend to the town board that a letter be issued to Central Hudson. I'm going to use the word demanding, but I'll tone it down. But just requiring them to give the missing data from those 8 months and to give us an accurate and complete account data for each and every account. I don't think it should be on anyone in the town.
But realistically, Mary, how are they going to do that? How are they going to recreate something from 2 years prior?
Guess what? That's their problem. That is their problem. That is their problem. Because and I don't think Patty or Carol or any one of us should be putting any more time or energy into this. And as Carol said, it's an estimate. It's an estimate. And that's their job. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And I guess the reason I'm so fired up about it is because also, what does this do to our greenhouse gas emissions going forward? We can't compare them.
Charles O'Donnell.
Excuse me. Sorry. What does this do going forward? We can't compare 2022 to 2021 because we don't.
Charles O'Donnell Jr.
Who is that?
I don't know. It's not me.
It's not me.
Yeah,
No, it's Mary. I think it's Mary's.
it
phone.
is Mary.
Mary, I agree with you. I
Yeah.
think that the letter has to come from the town board. We should write the letter. You should write the letter and give them the accounts that we're concerned about, including the lighting district,
Mhm.
And then I think it was 4 or maybe 5 other accounts. That will lower, if we get those numbers, that will lower our greenhouse, or add to our greenhouse gas
Yeah,
emissions.
I mean, already the greenhouse, I was just going to say that the greenhouse gases are a little higher than
Right.
previously.
Right.
So it could be serving as a red flag that we've got to be doing more to reduce our greenhouse gases in the future.
Well, also that's assuming that the accounts that
We're
that
accurate.
we got were accurate, and I'm not willing to assume that those accounts
Right.
were completely accurate. I mean, I see what they sent us, and I added them all up and double checked them, but I went, well, that's weird. That's a lot more than it was the year before. And you can only say COVID for some certain things, So, but we can work on that letter, Mary. I agree. When we send this to the town, it should go with that letter that we recommend that they send out.
Well, okay, so the other thing is, should we put it in the annual report? Should we add it? Or do it separately?
You mean the letter to Central Hudson?
No, should we make a recommendation in the annual report that the town pursue Central Hudson to present the data
For the
that-
for the accounts that didn't have full years.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense to put it in the annual report because it's really important that we get data that we can use to
Right.
go next year to figure out whether
Right.
we're doing, how are we improving, if at all?
Mhm.
And it is.
Mary,
only
not to,
Central Hudson.
Yes.
It's
not to interrupt, Mary, but that was going to be my recommendation, if you wouldn't mind me making one, is to see if that that recommendation could be put into your report.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I
Because
was thinking, yeah, okay.
It's not only, it's just the Central Hudson data. The
Yes.
tank fuels are accurate, the gasoline, the diesel is accurate. All of those I got from the suppliers. And So we know those are accurate. And so it's just Central Hudson stuff that is not accurate. And that is trouble.
Very troubling.
Okay, so are we agreed then that we'll put together what we're requiring Central Hudson to provide, and then that will go as a recommendation
Yes.
at the end of the annual report.
Yes.
All agreed?
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you. And so Patty, you will work on that, or Carol?
Well, I'll be glad to draft a letter for you and Carol to take a look at.
Okay,
I also think that we should send to the town board separately, not as part of the master that I did of all of Central Hudson accounts with all of the individual buildings and subsections of this, all of their kilowatt hours, so that they could see for themselves what they were for every single account.
Mhm.
You know, there's like 70 different accounts or something.
Right.
So
Does Greg Shorvis, is he the one that's going to end up being responsible ultimately to start collecting this data? Does he have that?
you mean for the benchmarking?
Yeah,
I don't know who the town is assigned.
I don't either. Okay. I was assuming maybe it was Greg, but maybe not.
No, it would never be Greg. If it would be anybody, poor Mark Molinaro, not
Right.
Molinaro,
Well,
Mark,
that department, yeah.
Mark would
Mark.
get stuck with it, but it's definitely, it won't be Greg. I'm
Right.
sure.
No, I understand that, but his
Um,
department,
Probably, and they may have to hire somebody else to do
Right.
it. 'Cause it's,
you.
well, yeah, but I mean, they're gonna have to do it on a monthly basis.
Right.
So that'll
Right.
make everything easier. And then
Exactly.
who's gonna do it over at Glasgow Water and Sewer is beyond me. I don't know who's gonna do that. So, I don't know.
Well, it also behooves the town, because if their numbers are not accurate, if Central Hudson's numbers are not accurate, and they're charging us, the town, for X number of kilowatt hours, and the town only used X minus whatever, then the town, I mean, that's what the town is paying for. So that it's really an obligation of the town to get this straight, just from a fiscal responsibility point of view.
The only thing is, unless the town has somebody that's checking the meters regularly, they're not gonna be able to say, oh, you overcharged us on this. The only way to do it is to kind of look in comparison to what those accounts were the years prior. Because they'll differ, but they're not gonna differ. You're not gonna have 500,000 kilowatt hours added to an account where it had been steady for a couple of years. Those are the kind of questions that you'd say, that doesn't look right. Or
And I guess 2019 would be a better year to compare.
2019, I would put 19, 20, and 21 together and see how different they are and where they are. I did it myself for my own sanity. I just did 20 and 21. And that's where I picked up on things that just didn't make sense. And then, of course, having a water district have 1 kilowatt hour is, that's not even
Okay.
possible.
Okay, so I think we're agreed then. We'll go ahead, we'll put a recommendation in the annual report, and Patty will
I'll draft it.
separate.
And that's my parting thing. I will
Yeah.
draft and send it to you and Carol. And then
Good
you
to have you,
present
Patty. Good to have you. And I got to give a shout out to Ken. Ken went through that
He
annual
sure did.
report, and he was amazing.
Yeah.
He
Yay.
figured every I that wasn't dotted and every T that wasn't crossed. I'm very, very grateful to you, Ken, for that, those eagle eyes you put on that document. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks.
Okay,
I'll
thank
get back to you all. Okay, bye.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, moving backwards, approval of the minutes of November 17, 2022. I move that we approve the minutes of November 17, 2022. Is there a second?
I
Second, Ken.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any
I think
opposed?
I have to recuse myself. I don't believe I was there. Is that true?
You're recused. Although I always thought that was the case, but when I was on the EMC, the Environmental Management Council, and I recused myself once because I wasn't there, and they said, well, you don't have to recuse yourself because you weren't there. So,
No, you don't have to. You can vote on it if you want to, yes.
who knew, Carol? Who knew? Now we know you can vote. Have you changed your vote?
No, it's
Okay,
fine.
you're-
Whatever the team believes, I will go along with.
Okay, well, you can recuse if that's what you want to do. Either way works.
I don't,
And January 19, 2023, is there an motion to approve those? Everybody got a copy?
So moved.
So moved. I
And
second.
Elizabeth seconds, all in favor. Okay. Okay, that's done. Next, the H2M proposal. H2M is the engineering firm that the town approved to look at the aquifer, the Winston Farm aquifer and the area, to look at existing documents and data with respect to the Winston Farm aquifer and that surrounding area, and make a recommendation to the town as to the, I'm gonna get Ken to jump in here because I may be using the wrong words. And to make a recommendation to the town regarding the development, the appropriateness of the development based on the water, the aquifer. And that's based on the data that they have. Ken, you better take it over because I think I might. be using
Mary, I wrote to Zach early this morning and asked him a couple of questions about it, and he responded at great length with a lot of information. So Zach, if you're still on, do you want to respond to Mary's question? Do you want me to read the email response you sent to me? What would you like to do, Zach?
That's fine. I can relate to Mary in the group what I relayed to you this morning. First off, good evening, everybody. And I would like to say that I'm sorry to hear about Skip. I was unaware about his status up until earlier today. So I know all of you are very close with him. And I don't know him all that well personally, but I'm sure he's a great man. And I'm sorry for, his current status. If there's anything I can do for anybody on the committee or Skip personally or his family, please let me know. And I'm wishing he makes a full recovery very soon. In regards to the H2M, I was not at last week's board meeting. I did have a conflict, but I did follow up. And what I said to Ken this morning, it was a little ambiguous the way it's worded in that proposal. But essentially what's happening right now is the developers are using their own hydrologist for the water testing. What H2M is going to do on behalf of the town is review all of that data that the developers are able to come up with once their studies are complete. Then H2M is going to review all of those studies and that data, report back to the town board and essentially say, okay, we believe that this data is current, it's relevant, it's accurate, et cetera, et cetera. If for any reason H2M believes that is not true, that data is outdated, it's inaccurate in any way, they will then make recommendations to the town board as to how to proceed and what future testing needs to be done. So it's my understanding, along with the rest of the board, that when H2M says that they're going to review existing data and documents, they are referring to the documentation and data that is going to be provided to them once the developers have completed their water testing.
Good.
Okay, so just to clarify, when we saw the proposal, we thought that it was existing documents.
Yes, as did I and as did everybody else. So I was under the impression at first glance that they were looking at water treatment documentation and who else, whatever else might have been there. But to our understanding, the way it's proposed is that they are going to be reviewing all of the documentation that's provided to them, to the developers, and then we will be informed as to what the next step should be based on the accuracy of that data.
Well, that's very good information, and that certainly clarifies.
It does.
Yeah, definitely. Ken, did you have any other comments on this?
Yeah, I guess two. One is, I'm just wondering, Zach, since you weren't able to be at the meeting, very understandable, who did you get that interpretation of what they meant from?
So I followed up with Fred personally. I had a nice conversation with him about that because at first he seemed to be under a very similar interpretation that similar to what we were just discussing, but I spoke with him, at great length about that. I had a good conversation with Leanne and Mike Ivino about that as well. The only other board member I didn't speak to about this is Mrs. Now. But I also reached out to Adriana. I was hoping she was going to return my call today just for additional confirmations. I was unable to speak to her today. But again, the general consensus amongst the board is that this is going to be the process moving forward.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I guess my concern was that the wording in the proposal by H2M was that they would use the existing documents and data available from Nelson Pope Voorhees, which is Adriana's company that she works for. Assuming that Adriana doesn't get back to you, is there any chance that you could be in touch with the company in general or the person that she worked with? Because I know when I was on the planning board and Adriana had to take a leave of absence, one of the
Yes.
other people at the company who started out working with her for our town took her place for the planning board and the zoning board.
Yes.
I just like to have a little more information that the new interpretation that everybody seems to have is correct. And I think the only place we can go for that is Nelson Pope Voorhees.
Nope, you absolutely read my mind. What I planned on doing tomorrow while at work, I wanted to give Adriana a reasonable amount of time to get back to me. However, if midday tomorrow rolls around and I have not yet heard back, I did plan on reaching out to the company directly to hopefully get some clarity.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Not a problem. And of course, once that happens, I'll be reporting back to the team as soon as possible.
Okay, the other understanding I have, Mary, is that this isn't simply an evaluation of the effect of the proposed project on the aquifer. It's on all issues relating to water on and under the Winston Farm. It was larger than simply the aquifer, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I saw the term aquifer zone. So, but I wasn't clear how that is defined. So maybe to your point, aquifer zone does cover a greater areas. Is
Yeah,
that
surface water as well as underground water.
That was my interpretation of this I thought it was more comprehensive.
Yeah, me too. So maybe that could be a part of what you ask Nelson.
Absolutely.
Or Adriana, whoever
Absolutely.
you speak to. Thank you.
Sure.
I think Mary has a question, has her hand up.
No, I'm good.
All right.
I did have one. So we know, Zach, that the developer pays for the studies that are going to be done. Who's paying H2M? They set up to 14,000, an estimate of their service, the cost for their services.
H2M, to my understanding, again, because they are representing the town, that the town is going to bear that cost.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions then on that point?
I think Mary had,
I just had a quick question, Zach or Ken, if if they will only be reviewing the studies after they're completed, or will they be reviewing at different milestones during the study?
I'm under the impression that we're going to be given a finalized, compilation of data. So I'm expecting not to be briefed until after all the studies are completed. The only exception I would imagine is if something very egregious were to come up, I would expect that we would be, notified of that quickly.
And I'm just wondering at what point would they maybe review data that was collected by the village when they did their own initial water sampling? So that's just kind of an interested question, but it's probably not a legal one.
Maybe not, but I think it's certainly relevant. That's something that I can look into as well, because I think that's a good question, not something that I initially considered, but I do think it's relevant. So I'll follow up on that as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think the other issue here was the time frame. Ken, you and I talked about the time frame that H2M was going to complete its work. And I believe it was 3 to 4 months? I'm not exactly sure, but it seemed, I'm not exactly sure of the precise time frame within which they would complete their work, but it seemed like it might not be enough time. If they're going to wait for all these studies to be done that you're talking about. Let me see if I can find it. No, I can't find it now. I think Zach is muted.
Sorry. Yes.
Yes. Was there any concern about the time frame that H2M put in their proposal?
Not to my knowledge, no. Nobody expressed, or up until now has expressed any concern regarding their timetable, because again, all of that ultimately is still going to be board discretion, right? I mean, we're able to force revisitation of anything and prolong anything that as we see fit.
Okay. Ken, do you recall the time frame? Remember, we talked about whether or not it would be enough time.
I'm looking right now too, Mary. For some reason, 4 months sounded accurate.
3 to 4 months. Maybe that's it.
It was a relatively short amount of time, and that's why I assumed they'd be using available information rather than anyone doing new studies.
Mhm.
So if they are looking at currently available documents and data from previous studies, plus anything new going on, they could certainly get to work on the already existing materials. But if they are only going to be looking at what's new, then they're going to have to wait until it's done. I also always have concern about when the applicant is doing their own hiring to do the work, because obviously the company that's being hired has a bias to satisfy the person paying them. In this case, it sounds like, I guess we're paying H2M. But the project is paying whatever hydrogeologist is doing the work. So I'm assuming H2M will do an unbiased evaluation of material. And when I did look at the website for H2M recently to see what they did and how large they were and what their history was, one of the main things on their main page was that they had just hired a hydrogeologist. So maybe this project that they put a proposal in for is the first one that involves hydrogeology. And they felt they needed to have a hydrogeologist, and it's such a new thing for them that they wanted to splash it over the main page of their website. So, but I assume that they will do an unbiased job, but I'd sort of like to know whether they're going to be using the new material only, or already existing material plus anything new. And if it's already existing material, it would be nice to know which already existing material. Those are sort of open questions that, would be helpful to know.
And along those lines, Zach, who recommended H2M to the town?
I'm not gonna, I won't lie about that. I'm not entirely sure how H2M became the front runner there.
I have to think it was the recommendation of Nelson Pope Voorhees.
That's probably the most sensible thing.
Yeah.
It's probably a firm that they've worked with, extensively.
Yeah.
That would be my best guess too, Ken.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments along this line? No? Okay.
I will say that Labella, who's working for the developers, bought out Chazen, and Chazen has worked with the town off and on for many years. So there is a familiarity with the town folks, with the hydrologist that the developers have hired. And to be, yeah. So I've even had a conversation with a hydrogeologist who let me know that the developers had hired his company. So so that's good that there's a working relationship. So they're the ones who've been monitoring the effluent out of the landfill for, what is that, Carol? 2 decades or something like that?
Something, yeah, I don't know when it started, actually. Oh, yeah,
Right.
I don't know when it started.
Mhm. Okay, well, thank you, Mary, for that. That was helpful. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda. Okay, which is the CSC Actions Review. Okay. Well, as you know, last year we worked on the CEC actions and our Climate Smart Community actions. We are up for renewal, for recertification next year, 2024. There are a list of actions that we were approved of when we got our bronze certification back in 19. About 12 of them have expired already. And one needs to be revised, must revise. Let me see, Kevin, may I share my screen, please? Kevin?
You have host ability now, Mary. You should be able to share.
Okay, let's see, where is it? Where did it go?
Well, while you're looking, I just wanted to say how wonderful it is to have Kevin be our host and taking all the minutes and everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
What I can share here. No, that's not what I want to share. I must have lost it. Must have lost it. Okay.
Mary, did you open it already? It has. to
Yeah,
be
I had it all
open.
opened.
Okay.
Yeah, I had it all open. Okay, so let me see, stop share. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, let's see, where did it go? And I can't open, I don't think I can open it now. Can't open, Kevin, can I open it now?
Well, you were just sharing your screen. It was showing your browser.
Yeah, but
window.
it didn't have my,
Maybe it was the other tab because you have to choose which window and then within that browser, choose the tab.
well, I didn't want this one and I didn't want. No, none of them, I didn't whiteboard, no, none of these are what I wanted to share.
Is it in your history? Do you want to go back was it in a browser?
Yeah, it was in my, yes, it was in my browser.
You could get to it by your history or your
Yeah.
or by going back in one of the tabs in case you used it.
Let's see, let me see. Share, show what? Show captions. No, okay, well, I don't think I can find it now because I would have to close this down to find it. Okay, so what we'll do then is, hold on. Okay. All righty. Okay, I won't bother sharing it, but the screen, but what I'll tell you is that there are 13 expired actions. And what we have to do is, what I'm suggesting is that we all, let me close this. Hold on. Okay, there. Okay, so what I'm suggesting is that we each take an action or two and go to the portal, figure out what we have to do to get them recertified. And then once you find out what we have to do to get them recertified, get that documentation, and then I can upload it to the portal. For example, the coordinator, that action has expired, so has the task force action expired. So I'll be happy to take those two, track down, go to the town clerk, get the fact that the town board appointed the coordinator and the task force, get that certified by the town clerk, and then I'll upload it to the portal. The Natural Resources Regional Program has expired, and that was the program that we worked in with CEC. So again, somebody would have to just find out what they want us to do, to what documentation they want to get that unexpired. The community greenhouse inventory, that we know has expired, and that's something we said we would look into this year when the, I think it's the county is going to run a program to help us get a community GHG inventory. The LED streetlights has expired. The outdoor lighting upgrades has expired. The renewable energy feasibility study has expired, but I think there was another one done after that. The solar energy installation has expired. Organic waste program, Mary McNamara, has expired. So we would have to find out what they want, what data they want to get that approved again. The alternate fuel infrastructure, that has expired. That's our EV charging stations. I don't know what they want us to do to get that recertified. Climate-related public events, that's expired. That was, we got credit for that when we did the Go Smart, Go Green Fair. So, and the other two are the website, that has expired. I'll do that one too. I'll get in touch with Steve and I'll go see what they want us to do for that, because our website is pretty up to date. I don't think that should be too difficult to do. And social media, which is our Facebook page. So I'm putting this out there. What I will do is I'll do two things. One, I will give you the link to the portal so you can see what the actions are that are expired, and you can look and see which ones you might want to tackle to get the data, to get the information for. And the other thing too is there's a tutorial which I'll share with everyone, which talks about recertification. It's a tutorial. It talks about recertification, what you should do if they're expired, what they should do if you must revise them, etc. And I can share that with everyone. And I just hope everyone will take an action or two, and maybe within the next 2 months, we can get these actions recertified. And then we have to look at what actions we're going to work on going forward. And I know Mary McNamara has suggested that we look at, was it PE7, Mary? Yeah, actions which we haven't really done much with PE7. So that would be important to look in that area. It has an awful lot to do with climate resiliency and sustainability. So this is what I'm suggesting at this point. So, excuse me, one more thing, must revise. PE3, interior lighting, we must revise that. So I don't know I don't know what they want us to do to revise it, but I'd hope somebody will take a look at that and agree to work on that action as well. So any questions? Is it clear? Are we
Well,
on board?
yes, I am kind of unclear as to the need for recertification. If it had been certified, is there, why can't we work on new actions? Or, I mean, I don't quite understand the rationale for recertification, I guess is what I'm asking. It's a kind of a basic question, or maybe a naive question, but what is the need for, why is that a requirement, I guess is what I'm asking.
Does anybody know the answer? I don't know. It's something I did have an email into Eleanor Peck, who is our coordinator, but she won't be around until after her vacation in February 27th. So
Maybe the tutorial will explain. I mean, if there is a tutorial in this, that might explain it in detail.
Yeah. So when she gets back at the end of February, we can always, after we've looked at the tutorial, and if we have any questions, she'll be happy to, to answer them and help us out with any of it. So are we on board with this, or is this my gig? Everybody okay with going forward with this? Yeah.
So this is a 10-year, these are all 10-year expirations or a shorter time period?
After 5 years, we got certified in 2019 for all of these. So it's after 5 years, you have to get recertified. And I can explain probably one part of it, Elizabeth. For example, I can completely understand why the coordinator and the task force has expired. Because if the town has not reappointed a task force and a coordinator, then maybe they shouldn't still stand because there's nobody there. So that makes sense to me. Also, like the website. Okay, if we had a website 5 years ago and it's 5 years later and there's nothing happened on the website and it's defunct and you get an error when you go there, well, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't be certified for that. So
That's pretty easy stuff. I mean, that's, just why you need recertification on LED lighting. I don't understand that. So I think you should send us the tutorial and all the information and let's see where we go with it.
And okay.
Right now, I don't understand the whole thing.
On the infrastructure, for example, like infrastructure meaning the charging stations. So if we put in charging, let's say we put in one 5 years ago or whatever, we have 5 actually. How do they expire? Did we take them out?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, or do they want to see that we went further? Is this just to show status quo? Or are they asking for more information showing that we're doing more than that? I guess we'll find out.
That's where we're going to find out when we go in and see what they want us to.
Yeah, well, let's get the information.
Yeah, let's see what they want us to produce.
Yeah.
Mary, please add me to that email list so I can.
But for the tutorial, yeah.
Well, just yeah.
Okay.
And just FYI, the organics program has been, they renewed a 3-year contract, so.
So we should get recertified for that is what you're saying, right?
It'll be easy, yes.
I mean, maybe that's what the recertification is just making sure that what we got credit for is still functional and operational and effective.
Right.
Right, that we haven't given up yet.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you all for that. And what's next on the agenda? We got the planning board report, Carol.
Well, we didn't have a planning board yet, but last month we had interesting public information meeting around Terramore. And with that, hard press from the people who attended, asking a lot of questions and demanding a lot of things, they pulled out. So we don't have to think about glamping for the moment. I think it's something that's not going to go away necessarily, but maybe not there. But let's see, the other one was the villas is another one that seems to be in creating a lot of turmoil amongst the people who live in that neighborhood. It's on Spalding Lane, which is lined with 50s homes that have been there, and the trees have grown, and it looks like it's been there forever. And they're worried about people, another 130 cars coming through on a daily basis down that street where their kids bike. And it's been the sisters have used it for events down at the end, but my guess is that it's not going to be, obviously it's not going to be the same. It's going to be for senior residents. I think I forget how many units, but I believe it's 120. And it's, from my viewpoint, if I were a senior, I would love to live there. It's glorious spot next to the trails and right on the water. And But anyway, people are definitely worried about their neighborhood.
Will that be, is there a positive declaration been issued or you're not there yet?
No, we haven't, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Somebody mentioned that there might be a historic building within the building that would have to get torn down. So there could be a lot of processes before anything really gets.
Mhm.
uh,
And if traffic is an issue, would that trigger a seeker review?
Oh, there's always a secret review. Is that the question?
A positive declaration.
Oh, pause.
Yeah.
As long as there's a way to deal with it. You know, if there's a way that they could suggest that maybe creating another lane into that area from another area. I don't know. There might be some ways to get around it so that it doesn't put all the burden on one lane.
Mhm, mhm.
So
So-
I don't know what the answer is yet.
Yeah, okay. Okay, any
I
questions?
just asked Carol, I noticed that the Mullen project has started on the Esopus Creek. I had thought that was
Which one
gonna,
is that
the
one?
one right along the.
It's in the village. It's
In the village? Oh,
The
that-
9W
that's
bridge.
technically the village, that's right, I'm sorry.
Oh, is it right near the bridge where you
Yes.
see?
Yeah,
I've wondered about that.
well, I had originally thought when they put out their plans, it was supposed to be single-family homes, but it looks like they are attached kind of townhouse type things. I don't know, it's not in your, it's the village, so I guess you wouldn't know anything about it.
Yeah, since I'm obviously not village.
Right.
No, I would
Looks
be
like a
interested,
really
though.
hard property to get in and out of, I'll tell you that.
Right.
I wondered how that passed.
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth on Facebook about it too. And it looks like it's very close to the water from,
It's right on the water.
yeah.
Yeah, they better build up high.
I'm not judging it, I'm just asking questions.
No, because in the town, you can't build, I think this is 100 feet from the water now. I forget.
It's, it looks like they got a variance.
Sure did.
It looks like they're doing quite a bit of resiliency thing there, though.
Yeah, good.
It's going to be a beautiful location. I mean,
Right.
it's a really beautiful area.
When are people gonna stop building in the floodplain? That's what I say. It's just dumb.
It's true. Winston Farm certainly has a big floodplain there.
Okay, so anything else then, Carol, there that's?
Let me just look through my list here. See if anything jumps out. Those are the two big ones,
Mhm,
other than Winston Farm.
mhm. Okay,
Nothing's happening on Winston Farm on our end.
okay.
Oh, and just one more thing, actually. As you know, I think most of you know that Adriana left as our consultant, and she left Nelson Pope for Van Voorhees. And Max Statch will be back. Ken, he was the one that came to our meetings when she was out and for family leave. So.
So
that's-
would Max be the person that Zach should
That's
get
what
in
I was
touch with?
wondering. I didn't know but maybe they have somebody who's better informed than Max. I don't know. Adriana was very,
There was a woman who was higher up in the
Yes,
hierarchy
that's who
who
I think,
came.
that's who I think might be doing it.
I think that's the appropriate person to
Right.
talk to. I don't remember her name, but if I go back to the minutes from a couple of years ago, I could find her name. for
I would
Zach.
imagine that you could go to the website. I think she's a principal.
Oh, okay, then she
Mhm.
definitely should know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Carol.
Yep.
That's good. We should know who the contact is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next on the agenda, announcements. Are there any announcements that anyone wanted to make?
Mary, this is Ken. I don't have the announcement, but when we were talking about H2M, we sort of thought that they said they would have their work completed in 3 to 4 months. That's
Mhm.
not correct. I've got the proposal up on my screen now, and the schedule of delivery starts out. It is anticipated that the initial review will occur over approximately the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay,
Wow.
yeah, that makes more sense. That's why we questioned it. That makes more sense.
Now, given that, how much is going to be done in time for them to evaluate all the material and then deliver their report to the town board within 3 to 4 weeks? That's a question I have.
You know, going back to it, I mean, I had commented that sounds like a cursory review of existing material.
That would be my
I
guess.
I think if Zach is still there, we got to get some clarity on this, because $14,000 doesn't sound like very much in terms of reviewing stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
And
agree.
go ahead, Zach.
No, I'm just I'm in agreement with that. That's a good point. It does seem kind of like a low arbitrary figure.
But in 4 weeks, it's not going to be any new work done.
Yeah.
No, but it might be a good start. And maybe that's the basis for the next phase, that this could be seen as phases.
Okay.
I don't know.
Be a
And
preliminary
Yeah.
stage.
yeah,
Well, I think
because obviously it's not very, otherwise it wouldn't inform us.
we should get more clarity.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
Thanks, Zach.
Sure.
Any other announcements? Leslie, go ahead.
I met on February 9th with for a grant, so preliminary grant meeting with the Partnership for Climate Action on the Meadow Grant, and they're very excited. There were, I think they said, let me just look at this figure. They had 80 applications and 17 projects were funded. So we were very competitive amongst the others. They're very excited about the project. It's not going to be onerous for reporting. They basically said you just report when everything is done. But I said I really would like to give them seasonal updates. They really, really are interested in community engagement and storytelling, pictures, press, social media, that sort of thing. And the grants are 100% funded by donation. So they're the people in the organization, what do you want, like the people that contribute and their companies that contribute, they really would like to see progress and sort of documented in a storytelling way, the progress. So if we can think, put our minds together and think about how we're going to do that. Certainly a press release comes to mind, and Mary already mentioned that, but they have provided me with some materials to help get the word out, and they're very interested in helping us in whatever way that they can help us.
Could there be school children that might help with, I mean, they might.
100%, 100%. Yeah, so it just in kind of an aside, I was in the airport on my way to Phoenix, and I ran into one of my daughter's elementary school teachers, and we got chatting, and she said she had just gotten a grant to do a pollinator garden for it's the Riccardi School, and it's only gonna be a little 10 by 10 piece. So I sent her the stuff that I put together on plants and their water needs and their native status, that kind of thing. She was stoked, and she said, she would love to involve her class students in our project, but was written right into our grant, because they would like to have, sort of marginalized communities and people involved. And one of the things I said was to reach out to the Boys and Girls Club that does, provides a service for people that, for working families that, have to have a place for their kids to go after school. So absolutely school children, and the biology club at the school, the ecology club, their agriculture club. So, I mean, I don't want to assume we're going to get all kinds of volunteer help, but there's certainly opportunities for those. And I think those are great photo opportunities. And they did say they can, like when we have events and stuff, they want to be invited to them, and they expect they're going to be able to provide professional photographers to document the good things that we're doing. I just said to her, really nothing happens until next November when we break ground on it, and then we'll take it from there. So
What about initial press release? In other words.
Yeah, well, now that I've had that meeting, because it wasn't 100% clear to me when they said you've been recommended for funding. That to me, I didn't read that we have selected you and you definitely have this grant. Now, so then I said, I was, from my background, that wouldn't have been a firm commitment. But at the meeting, they said, oh, yes, it means that you are getting the grant. So it is time to put together a press release, I would say. But, it's a long time between now and November.
Oh, yeah, but just an initial
Immigrant.
announcement that the grant was awarded and,
Yep, and to highlight the, partnership for climate action and, bring in the sort of verbiage that they, use some of their materials. And I would say, run a draft by them too, and just say, this is, would you have anything to add? And, yep, so.
Yeah.
So is it possible to do signage at the site and just identify it? Somewhere
I guess
between now and
we could.
November?
Yeah, I mean, we have, our budget is our budget, and I didn't budget for a, watch this space coming soon
Right,
kind of a
exactly.
thing. It was but we probably could have a very simple, even like one of the vinyl signs made, this will be a pollinator meadow. And, there's going to have to be a pardon our appearance kind of a thing too, because it's going to look like hell before it looks better.
Right. This is so great, Leslie. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
thank
for
you.
Thanks for your help.
Great.
getting us through there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I also wanted to mention the presentation that Leslie did for the group, the Third Thursday Environmental Group. I sent the presentation out to everyone, and it was
That was
really
great.
really
Very well done.
great job. And I was thinking, Leslie, whether or not it might be something that we could ask to be put on Channel 23, and whether that's something we could do. Because it's on YouTube.
It's the collaboration between a bunch of other CACs, us not included, obviously, and they have these things the third Thursday, just like tonight. And I think we could at least put a link on. I don't know if if they would. I mean, it's available on that their YouTube channel. So maybe link to it. Is that what you mean?
Oh, I was just thinking, it was such a good presentation, and what way to get it out to the Saugerties community. What I could do is put it on the Climate Smart Saugerties website. I could put a link to it there.
Okay, sure.
I did.
mean, if you want to talk to the people on 23, I mean, I could put them in touch with it's a small team that does these third Thursdays, and each month is a different CAC responsibility to acquire the speaker. So, yeah, can I tell you a super quick story? I listed the topics I was going to cover, and there was like a whole bunch of them were on an email, and I was actually on the email, and unbeknownst to this one person that commented, I wasn't, they didn't know I was on. So they said, tell Serpronaught he can't do all those topics. Blah, blah, blah. How long is this thing going to be? It was really kind of snotty. And so I responded and I said, my talk is my talk. Because you don't want all those topics doesn't mean I'm not going to cover them. Either you want my presentation or you don't. That was my response. And I immediately got a call back from my contact. And he said, oh, please, please, please. I don't blame you right now if you wouldn't do it, because that was sort of uncalled for. And I said, frankly, it really pissed me off. I said, you came to me asking me to do this. And I told you what the talk was. The topics were, and now somebody is trying to tell Serpronaught he can't cover all those topics. And I said, yes, I'll do it. I'll be happy to do it, but please don't let these people try to micromanage me. I'm a professional. I've done many, many, many presentations, and oh, by the way, I get paid for them most of the time. Yeah. So anyway, I simmered down, and it was, so that was a little bit of the backdrop to what happened.
Did you give them your pronouns when you signed off?
No, I did not.
It was great.
Yeah.
Can I go on our Climate Smart, the link
Yeah, on the website, that would be very good.
on a Climate Smart website?
Yeah, I don't know that we get as much traffic there. Yes, we can definitely, if,
Well, whatever.
yeah, I mean, there would be
You
no
could get-
objection. I guess what I'm asking is there would be no objection
Yeah,
from.
if we get
No.
it cleared.
Yeah,
Show
and
that
I
the
don't.
website is live.
Yeah, they would like to see, more people seeing it. So I think if we posted it on 23, they probably never even would even know about it, but I'm not sure exactly how it would be done.
Well, yeah, well, okay, the question, okay, so what I can do is get the link on Climate Smart Socrates, okay? I did take the liberty of just doing an announcement on Climate Smart Socrates, because on the homepage, where Steve had news and we listed different things that we did each month. So we had nothing for 2023. So I put in January and I put the fact that the grant was awarded, and that's all I put.
Oh, that's great. Very
Yeah.
good.
The grant for the
The pollinator meadow.
yeah, so that's on.
Excellent.
Yeah, so what we can do is then put the link on, well, I'll figure it out, the details, but we can put the link on so people go to Climate Smart Stories, they can see it. But again, I don't think you get the traffic there that you would get if it were on the town website as a link
Yeah.
or 23. I mean, 23. So,
I would
okay,
say, go ahead and put those links on, because I know that people that are putting, the groups that are putting, the CACs that are doing the third Thursdays, they're really trying to grow their audience.
okay. Okay, so, all right. Well, I'll be in touch with Anastasia to see whether or not it can go on actually on 23 on the channel. I mean, and then the other thing is we can put the link, can we put the link on the website? I'll work out the details. Okay, we're in agreement then, right? And I'll just work out the details. Okay, so if there's no other business comments, questions, shall we adjourn? And go to our CAC business meeting? Yes?
Yes,
Okay. I move we adjourn. Who seconds?
a second.
Seconds, all in favor? Okay. I guess we have to do all that formal stuff. I don't know. But we do it in case we have to, right, Carol? Okay, all righty. So CAC regular business, approval of the minutes of the November 17, 2022 meeting. I move that we approve the minutes.
A second.
Elizabeth second, all in favor? Okay.
Aye.
And then for the January 19, 2023, I move that we accept those minutes.
A second.
Okay. Carol's got her hand up. All in favor?
You have
Aye.
to let Kevin know.
We go through these formalities. I don't know. All right. And so next on the agenda is the tree presentation policy. Where is Nicole? There she is. Do you want to take it from here, Nicole?
I think Nicole said she was stepping in onto her phone.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Hello?
Nicole. Yeah.
Hi, sorry, I'm pulled over on the side of the road. Yeah, I'm safe, don't worry, I'm off the road. But well, we rescheduled for the meeting of the subgroup. We're rescheduling it for Monday, and the only one I haven't heard back from is Carol about whether she can make it. That's the only update.
I've sent so many emails saying that I would be there.
Yes, I'll be
Oh,
there.
really?
I will be there. Yes.
I
Oh,
will
I'm
too.
sorry, for some reason I didn't see them.
It might be
Okay.
that I didn't send it correctly. I don't know.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay,
I got it. I got both of them.
okay, cool. But that's it. I think, right? That we can't really update.
Yeah, we had anticipated that the group would have met before this meeting, but there were scheduling conflicts, so the
Yeah.
group will meet next Monday at 6:30, and then by the next meeting, hopefully we'll have some, something concrete to present and to talk about.
Great, thank you.
Are there any announcements from CAC? From regular business? Nothing on Winter Farm or anything, right? Any announcements? Do you mean we're ready to adjourn?
Yes. I think
Yeah.
so.
Good. I move that we adjourn.
I second.
Everybody seconds, okay.
Man, shortest
Mary,
meeting
Mary,
ever.
before we go, could you just return hosting to me so I can end the recording?
Oh, right. Okay, let me go over here.
Yeah, you can just click on the 3 dots in my little box there.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Wait, what did I do?
Kevin, everything's working real smooth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, so I just clicked on you. Oh, I see where it is. I got it.
Okay, perfect.
I got
All right,
it.
people.
I got it. But it's the link is not, I'm just getting the mute. I'm not getting. Oh, here it is. Transfer the host. Okay.
Once again, it's great to see your faces. Thank you.
Here's my face.
Yes, it was
Oh,
Kevin's
good. You too,
face.
Kevin.
Yours too, Carol.
Come on, Zach, show your face.
Turn my lights up.
Okay.
He's great.
It's
Thank
back to you.
Okay.
Back
Good
to you.
night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
night, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
Okay,
Prayers for Skip.
see you next month. Bye.